If you're watching this, I know that you're serious about becoming fluent in English. One of the main ways to do that is by mastering the English tenses. That's why, some time ago, I recorded an entire series of lessons on all 12 verb tenses, and you can watch those. I'll give you a link to those. It's a very strong program. Millions have watched it. And basically, it takes you through all of the tenses, tells you what they are, when to use them, how to use them, what mistakes to be careful of, pronunciation, and everything. Okay? So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, please do go through them. I think you'll find them very, very helpful. Now, today, what we're going to be focusing on is the past simple tense. Why this one again? Because we use this tense more than almost any other tense. So we really, really need to use it correctly. So I'm going to show you one aspect of that. I'm going to show you exactly how to say the positive sentences, and then most important, how to make the negative sentences. Because to be fluent, you want to be able to move smoothly from the positive to the negative, the positive, the negative, also the questions. But today here, we're going to focus on how to go back and forth and what's the secret to that. All right. So let me explain so that you can continue with your journey to being more skilled in English and also more confident in English, which is, I know, what you want to do. So let's begin. So here you see a lot of writing on the board, and everything is for a reason, okay? Don't get worried. I'm going to explain everything to you. So the first thing you need to know in English is that we have verbs, right? Verbs are the words that indicate some kind of action, usually. So there are many ways to classify these verbs. One way to separate them is to understand that some verbs are regular verbs and other verbs are irregular verbs. And that's important for this reason. I'm going to show you now. The regular verbs like work, live, and study, in the past tense, they usually just have an ed or a d or an ied. Okay? That's how we know actually that these are regular verbs. We can recognize them. If I hear the word work or worked, I know the word, right? But you're going to see that on the other side, things are a little different. So let's look at these regular verbs first. So work becomes what in the past tense? Worked, right? Live becomes lived. Here we just added a D because we already had an E. Here we added ED, right? And this word, study, it happens to end with a Y, so we need some spelling changes there. So we have to add IED after we drop the Y. And we have many verbs that fall into these groups, okay? Some with ED, some with D, some with IED. But those are the regular verbs. And we're going to see what happens with them in a few minutes when we go from positive to negative. Let's look now to the other side at the irregular verbs. So, examples of irregular verbs are go, do, sleep. Why are they irregular? Because look what happens when we put them into the past simple tense. Go becomes went. Do becomes did. And sleep becomes slept. Now, they didn't follow any kind of a regular pattern. Each one is kind of a little bit different, right? So that's what makes them irregular, that the past forms are basically sometimes completely different, like go and went, or do and did, which is kind of similar, or sleep and slept. But they don't follow any basic pattern. They just fall into different groups. But you must know them, because if you don't know that went is the past of go, you won't be able to talk about something somewhere that you went yesterday. Okay? And let's see now how all of that comes together when we are making positive sentences and negative sentences. So it's like this. Now that you know regular and irregular, let's look at what happens first in a positive sentence. So we could say, for example, I cleaned the house. But if I want to make it negative, all I do is I go back to the base form of the verb. So what was the base form of this verb cleaned? It was clean, right? The base form was clean. I just added the ed because it's a regular verb, past tense. I cleaned becomes I didn't, what? Clean. We go back to the base form of the verb. Isn't that lovely? It's actually easy because we don't have to remember something else. We just go back to the base form of the verb. And that's the same principle you're going to follow all the way through. As you'll see, the secret is that even with the irregular verbs, you're going to do the same thing. Let's look at some examples. You watched TV, let's say. Okay, past tense. What's the basic verb? The base form of the verb is watch, right? So when I make it negative, I go back to that base form of the verb and the watched becomes watch. You didn't watch the movie, okay? Checked, we checked the invoices or we checked the payments. Past tense, right? Go back to the base form of that verb. What's the base form? Check. So check becomes we didn't check the payments. We checked, we didn't check. We watched, we didn't watch. We cleaned, we didn't clean. All right? So what's happening? You're always just going back to the base form of the verb. The original verb is the base form. Got it? Okay. Now that you understand that principle with the regular verbs, you'll see that the same principle works for the irregular verbs, okay? You don't have to find anything more than that. So let's look at some examples. They had a good time. All right, or let's say they had dinner. Okay. Now what's the base form of the verb? Have here, right? So here what happens? It becomes they didn't have. They had dinner, which is the past simple form of this irregular verb, and they didn't have. So you're going back to that base form still, just like you did here. You're doing the same thing here, okay? But you must know with the irregular verbs, what you have to master is what is the base form, what is that past tense form, all right? Next, he did his homework. Did is the past of which verb? Do. So what do we see? He did, he didn't do. He did his homework. He didn't do his homework. Got it? Now, when I'm saying didn't, all right, make sure that when you are pronouncing it, that you're saying all of that. Because if you don't say the ending, it'll sound like he did do his homework, which means the opposite. So make sure you are pronouncing it correctly also. He didn't do his homework. Okay? Next, she made an appointment. All right? She made an appointment. Made is the past simple tense of which verb? What's the base form of the verb? It's make, right? So she made an appointment. The negative becomes she didn't make an appointment. We're coming back to that base form. That's the key. That's the secret. Once you know that secret and you apply it, it'll work for the regular verbs. It'll work for all your verbs, okay? Last, it broke. Let's say the glass, okay? It broke. Broke is the past of which verb? Break, all right? So when we make it negative, what do we say? It didn't break. Why? Because we're coming back to the base form of the verb, all right? You're going to know this so well. You're going to want to teach it to your friends. You're going to want to teach it to your children, okay? Because it's really easy once you know what the principle is, what the rule is, and what we're doing, all right? So now let's make sure that you've mastered that. Now we'll look at 10 different verbs, out of which some are regular verbs and some are irregular verbs. Here, I've written all of them in the past simple tense. What we are going to do together is to make them negative with didn't. All right? So, he danced, he didn't. Make it go back to the base form of the verb. Dance. Good. She invited, she didn't. Invite. Okay? If you need to, you can pause the video, think through them, and then join me, or keep going. Let's continue. The baby cried, or the baby didn't cry. Good. We wanted, we didn't want. Okay? So what are we doing here? What did we do in all four of these regular verbs? We went back to the base form of the verb. That's it. You've got it. Now let's start with the irregular verbs. So, forgot, okay? We forgot becomes we didn't. What's the base form of the verb? We didn't forget. Say it after me. We forgot, we didn't forget. It's very helpful for you to actually repeat them. Repeat it out loud. That way your brain can also hear it and not just see it and understand it. Okay? It's very helpful. And also for pronunciation purposes. Next, they bought a house. Negative. They didn't. Yes. What's the base form? They didn't buy. Okay? They bought, they didn't buy. So you can just do that even if you go through a grammar book, right? Look at the past tense forms. Say the negative. They bought, they didn't buy. They forgot, they didn't forget. Like that. And when you can do that easily, then it will come to you easily when you're speaking. All right? Next, number 7. Be careful of this one. He fell. Negative. He didn't. What's the base form of this verb? He didn't fall. Okay? So be careful of that one. I'll show you why in a second. Next, number 8. We thought they were coming, or we didn't. What is it? Think. Say it after me. We thought, we didn't think. He fell, he didn't fall. Excellent. Now look at number 9. She felt happy. The negative, she didn't. Which verb is that? Feel. Okay? So be careful of these two, especially. A lot of students make mistakes with these because they're a little bit close. So fell is the past tense of fall. And felt is the past tense of feel. So I feel, then, in the past. I felt, I didn't feel. He fell, he didn't fall. Be careful of those, all right? And the last one, she got an email. Got, in the past, the negative. She didn't get. Say it after me. She got, she didn't get. All right, that's the way. All right, so once you can do this, once you can move smoothly and easily back and forth between the positive, the negative, also other aspects like the questions. So for that and for much, much more with all of the tenses, you can master them. Go watch the course after this. All of the 12 tenses are there, special lessons to show the differences. Watch and you will learn and you will master your English. Bye for now. Take care.